So now we're going to look at area of shapes that we wouldn't use formulas for. These are called geoboards or dot plots or dot paper. A couple things before we get started. One, I have the answers written right here, so you can check them. I'm not going to work every single one of these out. They're in square units, or you can write that as units squared that I have written up here. Some people don't like seeing the U, so if you want to write it out, that's fine. But my units are still squared here. Just to go over what a unit is, to be specific on here, this is a length of 1, and this is a width of 1. So a square unit is this shape right here. That is 1 square unit. What does not count as a length of 1 is that shape right there. That line is not 1. It's actually longer. It's the square root of 2 is its length, and I can prove that to you when we get to the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to be looking for these square units here. There are two methods. We can use addition or subtraction. The ones that are shaded in, I have to use subtraction for. The other ones, I can use either method. All right, so shaded ones, you have to do subtraction. I'm going to start by looking at addition, though, because people like it a little bit better. So I'm going to look at number 2 here. I'm going to try to break 2 up into these square units. So in the middle, I have these 4 squares. Each one of these counts for 1 unit squared. But then I have these extra pieces as well. So I'm going to try to figure out how big they are. There are a couple different ways you could break it down. I broke mine down into tiny little pieces. Let me show you why. Because we just said that a square was 1 unit. I only want this bottom piece here. So that is half of it, which means each of these little triangles is a half. So this is 1/2, which means this side is also 1/2. So all of these are actually 1/2. All the way around, each one of these pieces is 1/2. Now that I know everybody's size, I can just count them up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. So my answer for 2 is 8 units squared. So once you pause the video, I want you to give number 6 a try because it's probably one of the harder ones on the sheet. You can check your answer by just flipping over on the next page, and then I'm going to work it as well. All right, so looking at number 6, what you cannot do is square this off and say this is 1 unit, this is 1 unit, and have 5 units squared. The reason you can't do it is this is actually bigger than 1 square unit. Remember, this is the size of 1 square unit. These are using the diagonals. We can't use the diagonals to say it's 1. The diagonals are actually the square root of 2. So instead, what I did was I broke these into their little bitty triangles that we had. So this triangle right here, see it? It is half again, just like I did above. It is half of this square right here. So each one of these triangles was a half. And there are a whole bunch of these little triangles inside this shape. There are other ways to work these. You don't have to work them exactly the way that I am. Let me find all these little triangle guys. But like I said, I think this is the hardest one out of all of them. So each one of these little triangles is a half. So that's a half, 1, 1.5, 2. 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8. 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. So 10 units squared. There's shortcuts that you can take for all of these. If you knew this was a half, 1, 1.5, 2, you could say, oh, this thing is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, for instance. Again, I think that's one of the harder ones. If you didn't get it, that's okay. Why don't you try one of the other ones and check your answer. If you're having trouble, feel free to get in contact with me. All right, now let's look at the subtraction problems. These work differently because I can't find the ones and the halves like I did for all these other ones that aren't shaded. They're not nice lines. They're these really slanty lines. So instead, I'm going to imagine, that wasn't very straight, I'm going to imagine blocking this in something, a shape that is straight. So I'm going to take what I'm given, that yellow shape there, and I'm going to totally surround it in a rectangle that I do know the area of. And then I'm going to cut away these little pieces that I'm left with. So this rectangle, finding the area some people find tricky. Don't count the squares. This area is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3. The green rectangle that I drew is 3 by 4. So the green rectangle I drew has an area of 12. Now I'm going to go find the area of these other pieces, and I'm going to try to shade them in so you can see where I'm talking about. So this is a blue triangle. Remember, the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. The base of this one is 1. The height we just said was 4. So this blue guy is 1/2. The base was 1. And the height was 4. So its area is 2. So this blue guy has an area of 2. I'm going to keep going. I guess I'm going to try to color code these. Now I'm going to find this triangle down here at the bottom, this guy right here. Its height is 1, 2. Don't count the circles, count the whole length. Its base is 1, 2, 3. It's how many jumps I'm doing. So the area of this guy is 1/2 of 2 times 3. Or that gives me 3. All right, last little piece I have to do. On this side, I've got this little triangle. It's going to be harder to see because I got to use the black. And now we got little black dots on there. It has a base of 1 and a height of 1, 2, 3. So its area is 1/2 base times the height. So 1/2, 1 times 3, or that's 1.5. So its area is 1.5. I know that's kind of a crowded mess over there. I had 12 as my whole area. So I'm going to take my big area, 12, and I'm going to subtract the 3 smaller areas I found. So -2, -3, -1.5. The reason I'm subtracting is I want to get rid of those. Imagine having a piece of paper that was the shape of this green rectangle, then taking your scissors and cutting away each of these little smaller triangles. What we would be left with is our yellow triangle that we want in the middle. So if I subtract 12 minus 2 minus 3 minus 1.5, I'm going to end up with 5.5. So that is my answer. 5.5 units squared is my answer for 1. All right, let's give one more of these a try. So let me look down here at 9. If you want to pause it and give it a try on your own, you can. I'm going to make a big shape down here. This big shape is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4 by 4, which is 16. So my big shape is 16. I'm going to take this number, I'm going to subtract my smaller shapes. I think this one's a little bit easier to see because I've just got these 2 white triangles here. This triangle has a base of 1, 2, 3, 4. So that top triangle is 1/2 times 4. And the height of this is just 1. There's my height right there. 1. So 1/2 times 4 times 1 is 2. Then I have this triangle down here at the bottom. It has a base of 1, 2, 3, 4, and a height of 2. So it is 1/2 times 4 times 2. So its area is 4. So my answer is going to be 16 minus 4 minus 2. So it gives me an answer of 10. So this is 10, oops, I'm out of space, units squared.